Welcome to Sports and Songs, episode number 40. We are your hosts, Dan and Andy. Andy, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Yourself?
Well, we're down to the final 1 week left of Major League Baseball. As the viewers and the listeners here can see, little White Sox cap today. They're now second best record in all of American League Baseball and essentially have won the Central League title. Now, this is in no way saying that I'm a fan. I'm just wearing.
I was gonna say, is it crowded on the bandwagon over there? Is it
no
crowded
bandwagon,
on the
no.
bandwagon? Oh, okay.
Just a hats off, kudos. South side of Chicago, first time in the playoffs since 2008. They got some good guys. They're leading the league in a lot of different categories hitting, and I think they're the surprise team along with the San Diego Padres of the National League. What are your thoughts?
We'll see what happens when the playoffs come. The way they're setting up the playoffs this year, I really do like the playoff format. I wasn't big on the wild card when it started a few years ago, but I kind of like it and makes it exciting to the end. The Padres and the White Sox are going to have this. They're saying, best turnaround from season to season. Winning percentage-wise, yes. Happy for them. I just hope it's not a flash in the pan and they go back to playing .450 baseball next year. I want to see a consistent team. I want to see – the Twins have one of the best records, and they're – until Cleveland had a reality break, they were third in the division, So that's what I want to see. I love seeing our division, the one the Twins are in, be the strong division for once. Instead of of course you're winning your division. 87, the Twins won, 86 games, 87 games and won the division. Not 87. Anymore. Now they're playing 600 ball, and they were third. So it's nice to be in the strong division for once.
And like you said, it looks like it's going to be the three teams coming out of Central into the playoffs, perhaps. So,
yep,
that is tough. But we'll get to more of the Major League Baseball in the baseball segment. We've got a lot to cover there. It's the middle of September here, Andy. We've got lots going on as the fall season is approaching with high school sports, college, pro, lots going on here. And once again, this is episode number 40. So we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary, which is in November. But we've got 40 episodes here under our belts. And once again, we've got a Twitter page, Instagram page, Facebook page, and YouTube.
Yep. We dabble in the blog every now and then, trying to get that going. So
we got a bunch of activity, but it's always interesting. So let's start off with some sports for the week. What have you got for us, Andy?
Yeah. Right now we should be saying about college football, the Division I, old Division II, FC, whatever y'all call it. They should be like 3 or 4 games in right now. We should be all excited. We should talk about how they're getting ready for conference play. Look at NDSU's schedule right now. All the games are postponed. They still list one game for October 3rd being good, but I think that's just a typo. I don't see Central Arkansas. Who was it? I don't see Central Arkansas coming up to Fargo for one game.
Well, you know what that is, Andy? I looked that up. I saw their schedule, and what they're going to do is pushing all the games to the spring, but they're going to keep one game, that one, as a final wrap-up to the fall warm-up season, practice season.
Exhibition game, okay.
So I think that's what it is, because I saw that too, and I was unsure why they had just a one random game scheduled. But they are selling tickets for the Fargo Dome to go in to watch that game with limited seating, of course.
Yeah. Here, just this week, the Division I Council approved it. It says they adopted playing and practicing football model for schools that plan to participate in football in the spring. Members also approved a framework for the Division I football championship. As you know, in FCS, they have a playoff format, kind of like college basketball brackets. They'll be conducting that this year from April 18th through May 15th. And it'll have 16 teams instead of 24. And the framework will follow that way. The championship framework will be approved by the board of directors next week. Beginning September 21st, teams may conduct on-the-field practices. And after December 31st, they're going to play games. So they're kind of getting the ball rolling there with them. Like I said, special seating arrangements and stuff will be done. Good luck for teams like NDSU where you're turning away fans and now you got to put a limit on it. But from going to the Bison games the last few years, a lot of fans were getting upset at the end at other fans because they all show up at the beginning or they show up halfway through the first quarter from tailgating. Bison would get a big lead, and then everybody's leaving at halftime. Well, now if you're only selling 25% of your seats, are you going to waste your time going for just that? Maybe the real fans that want to watch a whole game will get a chance to go. That's what I'm hoping for. We'll see what the season ticket holders do if they sell their tickets. That time of year, you've changed your schedule. You're a season ticket holder. You block off those weekends when you see that schedule come up a year in advance. You get it off from work, have family come into town, whatever. And now it's changing. Yeah, most people can readjust their lives, but maybe they can't. I don't know what their work schedules are, their jobs are. Maybe they can't go to football games January to March. Who knows? So we'll see on that one. Also, hockey, college hockey. A lot of teams are starting to start practices now. I know the Beavers are starting practice up at BSU. No games yet till after the first of the year. If that changes, where they maybe move it up to December or something, I don't know. But they're still shooting for around the first. And I think the reason a lot of that is, for those of you who follow Gopher hockey especially, they always have a break around the holidays because of finals. So I think that's why they're picking the first of the year, scheduling for the students because of finals and stuff like that. So I doubt December, maybe some practices or exhibition games. But I suspect the season will start first of the year. There is some sports going on high school-wise. Minnesota, not football, sorry. But boys and girls soccer. My son played soccer in high school. Dan, I know your kids played soccer. So it's still fun to watch something new. It's something, for crying out loud. So here we go. Here we got the top 5 for the classes in Minnesota. 2A boys. Top 5, Wayzata, number 1 at 3-0-1. Edina is number 2. St. Paul Central, at 3. Eastview at 4, and Minnetonka at 5. For 1A, we got Breck at 1, Austin 2, Academy of Holy Angels 3, Blake 4, and Waconia up from number 8 to number 5. The Wright County Conference, which is kind of where we're located here for the show, even though a lot of these towns are in Carver and Scott, they call it the Wright County Conference. So geography majors, don't come down on us. We're just going by what the State High School League has it called. Wright County Conference got Waconia in first at 4-0-1. New Prague second, Mound West Tonka, Holy Family. Orono Delano at 1-4. Jordan, Hutchinson, and Rockford, Howard Lake, Waverly, Winstead, all tied for last at 0-3. It's early. It's soccer. We'll see how it goes. I don't know what the high school playoffs are going to be this year for the sports. If they're going to expand them or not. So no one's out of it. The Independent Conference, Duluth East is first. Mayor Lutheran is in last at 1-1 right now. There's a ton of teams in Independent. Again, not knowing how it's going to go. We'll see for the playoffs. Girls, 2A. And these are all as of September 15th. Edina first at 5-0. Centennial, Rosemont, Champlain Park, and Stillwater for the top 5. 1A girls have Montemedi at number 1, Benilde St. Margaret, Academy of Holy Angels, Totino Grace, and Blake rounding it off. And in the Wright County, you got Watertown Mayor first at 5-0. Waconia, Orono, Holy Families in that conference. New Prague, again, Delano, Mound West Tonka, Hutchinson, and then Rockford and Jordan bringing up the rear. So there's still some sports going on. You need your little fix to out watch and support the high school sports, for crying out loud. This is one way of doing it. You can't go to the football games. Pretty sure basketball won't be starting on time. Go see the soccer players go. You chance to catch up with other friends, the other parents. A thing to do. It's fun. Go support the high school sports, please. Moving on to pro sports, the NHL's Stanley Cup Finals will be getting tonight, Saturday night. Those of you listening on the podcast Sunday, Game 1 was last night. You can see the scores on our Facebook page. The Dallas Stars at one time known as the Minnesota North, and the Ting, who hockey people refer to as the Bolts. They start tonight, 6:30 Central Time on NBC. I personally have Tampa Bay winning in 5. That's just still because I'm bitter at the North Stars. So no logic of who's better players. I just am bitter at the North Stars and Norm Green still. WNBA, women's professional basketball. They're in the semifinals of theirs. They have been bubbled down in Florida. And the Lynx have made it to the semifinals. They will be playing Seattle on that side of the bracket. Seattle, very good team. Seattle beat us both games this year handily. But we'll see. That's why you play the games. Seattle's a 2 seed. We're the 4 seed. And then the winner of that will play the winner of the Connecticut Las Vegas series. Best of 5. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully by next week we'll have a update on how they're proceeding. But the Lynx are going. And getting back to soccer, the Minnesota Loons, Minnesota United FC or whatever their full name is, the Loons. They're sitting 3rd place in their division right now, 3 points out of 1st. Kind of like hockey with standings. You get so many points for a win and a tie and stuff. So follow the Loons. They're fun to watch. I think Channel 17, local channel, shows their games every Saturday night or once in a while. You can hear them on local radio here in Minnesota. Fun to follow. Just another team to follow. Kind of get your fix for sports. But that's what I got for some pro sports. I know we're going to talk baseball later. Did you have anything else on sports, Dan, before we get into the baseball part?
Well, I've got high school updates, and
Okay.
it's gonna be part of a new segment we're gonna be doing here at Sports and Songs, a similar section to like a Where Are They Now, or local athletes, high school, that have gone on to the pros to reach that next level, next caliber of sports. So we're going to be covering some of those. This will also be in our blog, but I've picked 3 for today, Andy. I picked 3, kind of a where are they now, what are they doing? And I'll start off with the first one. Tre Jones, basketball, Apple Valley High School, went to Duke, played 2 seasons at Duke, wrapped that up, elected to go pro. He's the brother of Tyus Jones out of Apple Valley. Very good. He was the ACC Player of the Year last year and is elected to go pro. He's expected to be a first-round pick, and the draft is next month. That's an October draft for the NBA. He'll be one to watch as a local kid here, looking for Tre Jones. The second one I've got is Maddy Dean. Maddy Dean is a Jordan High School grad. Went on to play basketball 4 seasons at Drake, and she is now in her 2nd season playing in the Cyprus European Professional Basketball team there. And she was named the Player of the Year, the Import Player of the Year last year in her league. So she's pro, kind of in a European league there, but was played the first team all import player. And what they call there is, I think the import there is just the outsiders coming in and playing in that European league. She was not only on the first team, but was actually played, awarded the Player of the Year. She was 3rd in scoring actually as well. She's still keeping her hopes alive and coming over here and playing in the WNBA. And the final one I've got here is, if you remember the name, Logan Shore, Coon Rapids high school baseball pitcher from Coon Rapids, graduated in 2013. He went on to pitch for the Florida Gators for 3 seasons in D1, went to, I think, one of the College World Series, maybe even 2 appearances there, but he was drafted 2nd round by the Oakland A's in 2016. Played a couple of years in the minors with them, traded to Detroit Tigers, and was slated, I think, to be in AAA this season. There was no minor league baseball, but he was invited to camp, big league camp, working his way up. And if you look on the Detroit Tigers taxi squad right now, basically the taxi squad, he is listed as not made his Major League Baseball debut, but is at that next step, just waiting. There's only a week left of the season. They're they may make the playoffs. But if someone gets injured or hurt on the pitching staff, he's just a call away. So look for him to possibly come up, and that his name is Logan Shore. Those are the three that I've got for this week. I'll try to cover some other ones in the upcoming weeks, but in the meantime, we'll be able to check out the blog.
You mentioned the one gal playing over in Europe for basketball. Reminds me of a story about Becky Hammond. She's an assistant right now in San Antonio. She has a chance of going. It's a head coaching job, a couple of spots opening up. Anyway, she played college, played WNBA, very, very good player. But she also played before WNBA in the offseason. A lot of the girls play in Europe. She played on the Russian team. Well, living in both countries, she had dual citizenship. She played in Russia, had Russian citizenship also. When the Olympics came a while ago, she did not make Team USA, so she played for Team Russia because she had citizenship there. A lot of the American players held that against her. She's like, my dream was playing the Olympics. I live in this country half the time. It's kind of a second home, so it's not like I just picked a team to play at. So if she doesn't, like that gal you mentioned, Maddy, very well get citizenship, why in the Olympics coming up too? If she's being International Player of the Year, that'd be a name to kind of keep an ear open for the Olympics too, if not here in the WNBA.
Very good. Interesting stuff. But there's a lot of, Minnesota is such a hotbed for sports athletes to come out of the state. And a lot of us seem to lose track. It's not in the newspapers that much, but we'll try to keep that alive. Some of the local kids here with Minnesota connections, either growing up in Minnesota or playing college in Minnesota and things like that. So we'll cover that in the future as well. But that's all I've got for sports this week.
All right. I'm sorry. I just love that song.
Very good. Very good song. Very good song. All right. What have we got next, Andy?
Well, got a lot of baseball stuff going on. Just a couple of notes of games going on here. In the Washington area, Seattle, they've had some fires over there. Their games with the Giants, they moved down to San Francisco. I saw some pictures a couple weeks ago from the Dodgers games, A's games, Giants games. You can see the background all orange from all the fires going on out there. Not taken away from anything, just hear me out. If they were allowing fans into these games in California, you saw them playing, they had the orange background. If they were letting fans into the games, would they have still played these games? I mean, you're just bringing a busload of players in, easy to evacuate them if things went sideways real fast. If you got 20,000 people, 30,000, whatever a stadium holds, would they have still held the games, do you think? Would they have moved them farther south? Would they have postponed them? Would they, so it's kind of the pandemic baseball world we live in now is, again, I'm not taking away from the players when I said it was just players. I'm not belittling them at all. I'm saying it's easier to move 100 people now than a stadium full of people, traffic, highways, everything else. And also with the pandemic baseball, they can move the games up in time and they have that flexibility. So just kind of a curious thought, something to think about on stuff like this. I hate saying ban, but
yeah, we always ask for folks to leave the comments and even questions down below on our Facebook page and whatnot, because these are interesting things. Because like you said, there's only two teams playing down there. They're down at field level. Is the smoke an issue? Maybe, maybe not. But if there was 30,000 fans in the seats, what would they do then? And like I said, this is California. One thing that I wanted to mention is they're having the same issue in Seattle. And folks do think that Seattle is a dome or an enclosed dome, but Seattle is more of an umbrella, if you think of it that way. The sides are open. The top is enclosed or covered in the event of rain or whatnot, but the sides, you can still feel the breeze coming in from the outside if you're at that game. So that's why they close that, because the winds are blowing in with that smoke. And I've had some folks question, why would they do that in a dome? And well, Seattle's a little different like that. So that's why they had that. But it's a good question anyway to bring up.
which also brings up some stuff we're talking about. I mentioned earlier this week in production meetings. Major League Baseball has announced the dates and locations for playoffs. September 29th will be the AL wild card, with the higher seed being the home team. September 30th will be the National League wild card, the higher seed being the home team. Then October 5th, the AL Division Series will take place in San Diego and Los Angeles. So they're going to kind of bubble everybody and bring them over to one area. National League will be in Arlington and Houston, Texas, starting October 6th. Then the 11th and 12th, the AL Championship Series will move just to San Diego, which sounds a little weird. AL playoffs in a National League park, but you know what? Life goes on. National League Series will be in Arlington, Texas. Oh, look, National League and American League Park. Life goes on, folks. Let's just be happy we got baseball. And then the World Series is going to be in Arlington. Game 1 is October 20th. Game 7, if there is one, would be October 28th. So it basically sounds like to me when you look at the calendar, it's going to be 2 games, day off, 3 games, day off, 2 games. Like you would normally, just now we don't have travel. And like Dan and I talked about, we'll take the World Series, for example. If you're the home team or the road team, are they going to make them switch locker rooms? Or are they just to say for the week, hey, set up shop in this locker room. This is you. You just always be the third base side. I don't care if you're home or away. Are they going to make them switch on that day off? It'll be kind of interesting to see how that works out. One thing we are tentatively planning, like Dan said, the show's 1-year anniversary comes up in November. October 24th, the Saturday, scheduled for Game 4 of the World Series. That game, we will be live tweeting during the game, giving our updates throughout that Saturday game. We have a little gathering with the followers and our fans if they want to follow us on Twitter that day, or we'll get together maybe if establishments will have us. Let's say it that way. Not because we're bad people, because you just can't be in them. But we're working on that, so kind of keep that date penciled open on your calendars. October 24th is a Saturday. But yeah, so there's the playoff schedules. We put that on the Facebook page. Kind of curious to see how they do that. If they make teams switch locker rooms, if you're home or away. If they say, here you are, stay there, have a good time. We will see how that goes.
One thing, Andy, I got one thing on the Constant Stadium there with where they're going to be staying. I think due to the COVID and the bubble and the isolation of the players so they don't spread anything, I do believe the clubhouses will be locked in and the dugouts will be locked in. I don't believe they're going to be switching over. I can't confirm that, though, but I would have to guess with the contamination and the germs and the sanitization, they'll just stay there the entire series in that same clubhouse and in that same dugout. And so I think all they'll switch then is the home and away teams, right?
Yep. You switch your jerseys and that's it.
Gotcha.
And batting order, you bat first or second. I just know a lot of stadiums, it's always that unwritten rule, home teams on the third base side, but and you look at the way the standings are right now too, A's, White Sox, and Tampa are in for the American League, and the Dodgers are in for the National. So we'll see how that goes. It's kind of weird seeing magic numbers for playoff spots, but they have them, But it's kind of exciting. I like the format. I like the fact that it's going to be done before November, too. That's kind of something we haven't seen in a long time. I think if baseball expanded the playoffs, I'd be okay if they cut back to 156 games. 6 more games. Oh, the records, the purity. You know what? I'd rather see playoff games than 6 more meaningless baseball games.
Correct. One thing I was going to say, too, Andy, with the playoff format, it's going to move along pretty swiftly as there are not going to be these travel dates. There's not going to be these built-in extra dates in case of rain or makeup. These games for the American League are going to both be in San Diego and Los Angeles. Very, very rare to have a rain game delay or even a rain out. So the chances are it's going to be sunny there. Play those games. They can get those in quick. No travel dates. They just get them quickly moved along. The National League is going to be playing indoors at Houston Minute Maid Stadium, which is indoors. And the other field is the brand new one, also indoors in Arlington. And so once again, those will be those in Texas, good weather, indoors, no threat per se of any games being delayed. You know, one could argue that the threat fires in California could impact those American League games, but I think they got it set up pretty good that these games will be moving along very swiftly and without chance of delays or rainouts, which will be nice. No cold games either, except for that first round. There's no cold games in the cold weather climates. We've got some teams here that could be playing at home with the Chicago Cubs, New York Yankees, Minnesota Twins. There could be some colder games, but that's only that first round. After that, they move to those bubble sites.
Right. And I know the Twins had it. Was it the Twins last week with the bubble and no fans, the games in LA? If there is rain that night, they could just move it up to an afternoon game. It's not like you got to try to accommodate all the fans coming in, changing the schedule at the last minute. Or if it's an afternoon, you can move it to night. So they have that flexibility. So you won't see any postponements, I don't think. You'll see it just move right along.
And I don't know if you mentioned this, but for the listeners, that first round is best of 3. The second round is best of 5. And then the final 2 rounds, the Championship Series and the World Series, are the typical best of 7. But I think it'll be fun to watch. They're going to move along. More teams are in it, but they're going to be eliminated much more quickly, and the games will move along much more quickly. There's that second night of the playoffs. I looked it up. There's going to be 8 games going on that day. 4 of the wild card game, 1 of the National League, and then 4 of game 2 of the American League. I think that's next Wednesday when those games kick off. There's going to be 8. And then for the sports lovers out there, the following night on Thursday, you're still going to have your NFL Thursday night game going on along with the Major League playoffs. And so it's going to be get your TV ready because there's going to be a lot of good action coming up.
And here's baseball's chance for TV ratings. NFL ratings the first week and a half here haven't been the greatest to start with. If baseball can show that they got some decent teams in the playoffs and can take a little bit of that NFL audience for a couple more weeks, get some fans back into baseball, hopefully we'll see some good ratings, which will say, hey, baseball, let's have more playoffs like this. Hopefully they'll see that.
Now, Andy, I've got the divisional brackets up there on the screen. And
Yep.
you had made the prediction when the season started that we might see 1 or 2 teams with under 500 record making the postseason. And so far you are on track there. Looks like Cincinnati may make it in the National League and Houston Astros in the American League. That would put us at 2 teams in the postseason with a losing record. So that's very, very likely here in this case.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. And that's not taken away from the teams. I'm just saying you had 60 games, you're putting in 8 people, someone's going to be below 500.
Correct. And so we're entering the final week here of Major League Baseball regular season. And we'll see what's going to go on here. This next week should be exciting.
Yep. One more baseball thing I got. Albert Pujols. He's at that point of career. He's passing people in the top 5, top 10 for lists all the time. Albert Pujols isn't really a great interview. And when I say that, it's because you don't see him giving a lot of interviews, which is good for him because every time Albert Pujols makes history, someone else does too. There he is last night at number 661. When he hit number 660, tying Willie Mays for 5th, was also the same day Alec Mills of the Cubs had a no-hitter. May 4th, 2018, Pujols recorded his 3,000th career hit in a game in Seattle. Same day, the Dodgers, led by Walker Buehler, threw a combined no-hitter against the Padres. Pujols came close again, overlapping a no-hitter in 2020 when he recorded his 2,088th career RBI, passing A-Rod for 2nd on the list. But that was the day after that when the White Sox player Lucas Giolito hit his no-hitter earlier this season. So, Pujols, luckily for him, like I said, not a big guy for interviews. I still like Albert Pujols, don't get me wrong. God bless him for the contract he backed into with the Angels, though, because they're paying him for what he did in St. Louis. St. Louis got a steal on his career for that money. well overpaid, but in all sports, you're getting paid for what you did, not what you're doing. Pujols is a prime example of that. Not saying he doesn't deserve his records. Pujols, great player. First ballot Hall of Famer when it comes up, just because I have never heard a bad word about the man. So, but he won't go unanimous because heaven forbid he's not a Yankee. He can't be unanimous. So someone won't vote him in just to be a jerk. But Pujols will go in first ballot when that day comes. Hats off to him. Great career. I don't know what he's going to do post-baseball. He's still healthy enough where he's playing. He's DHing a lot. So he might have a couple more years in him. But I don't see Albert going to the media side at all, doing play-by-play or studio work. I don't see that at all. But again, I never saw Frank Thomas doing it either. And here he's having a very good career at MLB Network. He's a good watch. Very smart man on that. He's got his commercials. So never thought I'd see Frank Thomas doing that. And here he is doing it too. So, but we'll see. But that's my notes for baseball. You got any more baseball stuff there, Dan?
No, nothing else on my side.
All right. Next, we'll go into This Week in Sports History and Music. Okay, here we go. I got lots of stuff for birthdays in history this week, sir. So bear with me here as we go. Starting the week, September 14th, 1968, a little bit before our time. Detroit Tigers' Denny McLain gets his 30th victory of the season, ended up 31-6. A feat accomplished by only 11 players in the 20th century. Steve Carlton won 27 games in 72, and Bob Welch with the A's got 27 wins in 90. No one's come close to that since. Denny McLain's success with baseball stood marked by a contrast of his personal life when he was associated with organized crime and was eventually convicted of charges of embezzling, which he served time in prison. As we know with Pete Rose, Major League Baseball frowns on federal crimes. So that's that. But a little side note on Denny McLain, talk about local stuff. 1963, he did play for Class A Duluth Superior. So he's one of us, as WCCO would say.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
If you look at Denny McLain's career in the minors, he was elevated through real quickly. He did have a cup of coffee here in Duluth Superior, so he is one of us, as WCCO would say. 1991, San Diego State, freshman running back Marshall Falk rushes for an NCAA record 386 yards and scores 7 touchdowns as the Aztecs beat Pacific 55-34. 1994, Major League Baseball owners vote to cancel the remainder of the 94 season as well as the World Series for only a second time in history over a labor dispute with the Players Association. I cried that day. I cried big tears that day. 1996, New York Mets' Todd Heltley sets a record for 41 home runs by a catcher in a season. Birthdays, 1957, Tim Wallach, third baseman for the Expos, who I thought was a very good third baseman. Kind of like Herbeck with first baseman, though. Wallach just was a third baseman at the wrong time. You had Boggs over there at third base. You had, Ripken moved to third. Wallach just was wrong place, wrong time for having a decent career noted. Hall of Fame, no. Decent career, yes. All-Star, yes. 1968, Ginger Nielsen, American tennis star, was born in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Another local gal. September 15th, some history stuff, 1946. The Dodgers beat the Cubs 2-0 in 5 innings, game being canceled because of gnats. 1952, the Braves played their last game as Boston Braves Field before they moved to Milwaukee. Then later on, as those of you who watch the TV show Happy Days know, it was sad when the Milwaukee Braves moved to Atlanta. Howard Cunningham cried big tears that day. 1979, Boston Red Sox Bob Watson is the first to hit for the cycle in both the American League and the National League. He'd done it when he was with the Astros too, so there's a stat you don't see very often. In 1990, Chicago White Sox, Bobby Thigpen is the first to record 50 saves. I think he did that back-to-back seasons, didn't he?
I think so. He
For
put up
some
some
reason,
big
he was
numbers.
a save machine there for a while. 2002, Oakland Raiders quarterback Rich Gannon begins his NFL career, tying Steve Warner or Kurt Warner and Steve Young for a streak of 6 consecutive 300-yard passing games, throwing for 403 yards. The Raiders beat Pittsburgh 30-17 that game. I think Rich Gannon still lives here in Minnesota in the area. He had a brief stint here with the Vikings. Should have never got rid of him.
I think he does, yes.
2004, NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman announces a lockout of the players in the NHL. So bad time for sports this week. This is when everybody starts locking stuff down. It's not good. Birthdays for this day, September 15th. 1951, Coach Pete Carroll of the 12s of the Seattle Seahawks and formerly of USC. And also, everybody forgets Pete Carroll. He was a coach for the Jets and the Patriots for a while, too. And I think he was an assistant here in Minnesota at one time.
I think so.
Happy birthday to Coach Carroll. 1961, Dan Marino, football player for the Dolphins. Birthday. September 16th, 1937. Washington Redskins NFL franchise played their first game in Washington at Griffith Stadium, where they defeated the New York Giants in the opener 13-3. 1953, the American League approves the St. Louis Browns' move to become the Baltimore Orioles. And in 1988, Cincinnati Reds pitcher Tom Browning pitches a perfect game to beat the Dodgers 1-0. 1993,
Can't hear you, Andy. Hello?
am I still there? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, right there. Maddox with 17 straight road victories. 2012, more NHL locks out its players again. So NHL, that's where they lost a lot of fans during that 10-year period, 15-year period where they had 2 lockouts. Not that they would ever take over and be the number 3 sport in our country, but that was really a bump to them, I thought. Where even NASCAR and soccer were kind of catching up to hockey for popularity there. Birthdays, 1934. Elgin Baylor, basketball NBA 11-time All-Star, has a birthday that day. And 1955, Robin Yount of the Brewers, shortstop and center fielder, birthday. 1958, Oral Hershiser, pitcher for the Dodgers, Bulldog, as they called him. I think he ended his career at the Cleveland Indians last few years he played there. Born in Buffalo, New York. 1959, Tim Rock Raines, birthday. Played for the Expos and had some time with the White Sox as well. Birthday. September 17th, 1961. 2 things on that day. The Minnesota Vikings, first NFL game, they beat the Bears 37-13. And in that game, Fran Tarkenton plays his first game against the Chicago Bears, coming off the bench to lead the Vikings to that win. Also becoming the only QB to throw for 4 touchdown passes in his first game. 1968, Gaylord Perry then with the Giants throws a no-hitter against the St. Louis Cardinals, 1-0. 1991, 4,355 people turned out to see the Expos play the Mets at Shea Stadium. Not a proud moment. 1996, Dodgers hito no hits to Colorado Rockies, 9-0. I think the odd thing about that, it was a no-hitter in Colorado. And that stadium at the time was still now known for all the home runs there. But the Rockies teams, that always had decent teams too, but be no hit at home. That stadium was kind of an odd thing. Birthdays for that date, 1927. George Blanda of the NFL, kicker, quarterback, career record for points, I think, are up there now. I think Gary Anderson passed him, but up there. 1945, basketball coach extraordinaire Phil Jackson was born. Did play also for the Knicks, has 1 ring with the Knicks, 1 or 2 rings with the Knicks as a player. The rest are all his coaches with the Lakers and Bulls. 1960, John Franco of the Reds and the Mets, birthday. 1970, Mark Burnell of the Jacksonville Jaguars has a birthday. I always liked Mark Brunell.
The lefty.
Yep. Decent quarterback. But, he held his own. He was good. 1975, Jimmy Johnson, NASCAR, not the football coach, the NASCAR driver, Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy with an IE, as some people say. 7-time NASCAR champ. This is his last year in NASCAR. He's going on to other racing afterwards. But his birthday, 1975. 1995. Here's where it feels bad. Patrick Mahomes' birthday. He was born in 1995. My son was born in 95, and he is not an NFL Super Bowl MVP second year. So I just kind of compare because Matt's that age, and Patrick Mahomes, So it kind of helps me put in perspective. It used to be when you see players go like, "Oh, he's my," like when Garnett came in, he was a little bit younger than me, and I got someone else great in sports he's as old as my kids. September 18th, history. 1848. Baseball rules first baseman can tag the base instead of the runner for the out. Although in the 91 World Series, Kent Herbeck did dispute that rule with Ron Gant. He tagged the runner at the base, that's okay. 1963, the final game at the Polo Grounds. 1,752 people showed up to see the Phillies beat the Mets 5-1. 1984, Tim Raines becomes the first player with 4 consecutive seasons of 70 stolen bases. Now I see that look on your face. You're going, wait a minute. 4 years of 70 stolen bases? Didn't Ricky Henderson steal all these tons of bases and he's the greatest of all time? I looked up Ricky Henderson's stats because I question this. We fact check here on the show. Okay, stolen bases, yes. Ricky did have a lot of good years there were stolen bases, but then he had some injuries in there where he was not getting 70 stolen bases. So you look up Ricky's numbers, he had 80. He had 100 stolen bases, and he had 56. 130, 108, 66. 80, 87, 41. 93, 77. So he had some injury years in there. So he didn't do 4 straight seasons of 70. Tim Raines did. Take that, Alex Trebek.
He was good.
He was good, but he just had – when you're doing what Ricky did, you're going to pull a muscle. You're going to get hurt. Something's going to happen. Tim Raines just proved that 4 straight years of 70, health. He was a healthy man. He was a great athlete. Tim Raines was a good athlete, first of all. To pull that off, that's pretty good. So hats off to him for that. 1987, Detroit's first baseman Darrell Evans hits home run number 30 off Bill Wagman in the 5th inning of the Tigers' 7-6 win over the Milwaukee Brewers. First 40-year-old to hit 30 home runs in a major league season. Birthdays on this day, 1933, Scotty Bowman, NHL player and coach for the Canadiens, and a lot of people probably remember as a coach for the Red Wings during their run. Hockey coach there. 1952, Rick Pitino, daddy to Richard Pitino, Gophers coach, his birthday. 1955, Billy Sims, football running back, a Hall of Famer from University of Oklahoma, Pro Bowler, played for the Lions. I always thought it was funny about Billy Sims. I always thought Billy Sims was a great running back. He retires, they draft Barry Sanders, and then give him Billy Sims' number right away. It's like, so that number 20 was just a great number for the Lions for a few years there. 1968, as we talked about earlier, Denny McClain got his 31st win on this date. And same date, Mickey Mantle hit home run number 535. 1973, the National League refused to allow the San Diego Padres to move to Washington, D.C. back then. 1988, and I vaguely remember watching this because of the time delay in Seoul, Korea, but during the Olympics, American diver Greg Louganis hit the back of his head on the diving board on the 300 meters.
Remember that.
For the Seoul Olympics. He recovered to qualify for the final, in which he won the following day. So, I remember watching that very scary moment. He goes in, stitched him up, everything else, went back and still won the event. Year 2000, Ken Griffey Jr. pinch hits for his 400th home run. First major leaguer to reach that mark as a pinch hitter. Birthday is 1926, Duke Snider. American Baseball Hall of Famer, 8-time All-Star, World Series of 55 and 59 with the Dodgers. I was born in L.A. Duke Snider, I read his book, Duke of Flatbush, years ago. Very, very interesting book. Good player. One of the few Dodger players I like, Duke Snider. In 1943, one of the many Cincinnati Reds I don't like, Joe Morgan was born. Second baseman for the Reds, and right after he was in the Hall of Fame, had a cup of coffee at ESPN as a broadcaster. 1962, also a member of the Nasty Boys of the Reds, Randy Myers, born this day, 1962, in Vancouver, Washington. September 20th, rounding it off here, 1931, Major League Baseball, Lou Gehrig's 4 RBIs break his old mark of the RBI record of 175 en route to 185 RBIs that year. Still a single season record today. 1969, Pittsburgh Pirates Bob Moose no hits the Mets 4-0. Lots of Mets bad news this week, if you notice. 1980, George Brett goes 0 for 4, dropping his average below 400, and it stayed below for the rest of the season at that point. 1987, Sweetness, Walter Payton scores his NFL record 107th rushing touchdown in the Bears' 23 win over Tampa Bay. And 2013, Alex Rodriguez sets the new Major League record with 24 Grand Slam home runs for the New York Yankees. Birthdays for this day, September 20th. 1917, Red Auerbach, Boston Celtics fame, born. 1951, Guy Lafleur, which is not spelled that way. That's the only French I know is Guy Lafleur. He was born, I played right wing for the Montreal and for the Rangers, was born in Quebec. And that's what I got for the sports segment of history and birthdays, which segues into the music part. I like the nice smooth segues we have here. September 14th, as you heard earlier, 1974, Eric Clapton's I Shot the Sheriff, song originally done by Bob Marley, hits number 1 on the Hot 100. It's the only number 1 Clapton ever had as a solo artist or with his bands, Cream, Yardbirds, or Derek and the Dominos. Again, fact checking. Tears in Heaven only hit number 2 in 1992. Lay Down Sally hit number 3 in 1978. So I Shot the Sheriff was the only number 1 for Clapton.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I would have thought some of those Creams, or he would have one of the band songs would have made number 1 for a week, but nope, that's it. 2004, Megadeth returned after a 2-year hiatus with The System Has Failed. This was originally intended to be a solo album for the band's founder, Dave Mustaine. But due to contractual obligations owed to his publishing company, it had to be billed as a Megadeth album. 1985, the TV series Golden Girls debuts on NBC. The theme song, Thank You for Being a Friend, written by Andrew Gold, but sang by a jingle singer named Cynthia Fee. Gold's version reached in 1978, was number 25 in the U.S. 1977, Cheryl Lynn appears on The Gong Show, where she wows the judges with her version of You Are So Beautiful. This earns her a deal with CBS Records, which issues Got to Be Real on her first single. The disco track is her only hit in the top 100, but she became a regular on the R&B charts. The Gong Show, for those of you who don't know, who aren't old like us, was a variety show back in the day. Celebrities would watch, people would come out to their talents. If they didn't like you, they gonged you and you left. If they liked you, you went on to win, da, 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 da. If you could look up the old Gong Show, Chuck Barris, was that the host's name?
I'm not sure of the name.
Anyway, they did a movie on his career. He was kind of a goof. But the Gong Show, lots of those bits on there weren't that good, but that was part of the show. That was part of the fun of it. So look that up. 1947. Birthday. One of my heroes as a kid growing up, John Bowser Bauman of Sha Na Na, was born in Brooklyn, New York. John Bauman went on to host. In the 90s, I believe they tried to redo Hollywood Square's match game shows, and he was a host of one of those. John Bauman, he was also in the movie Grease, with the one band that plays at the high school. You see John Bowser Bauman and a lot of the guys from Sha Na Na in that movie.
Oh, really?
Also. September 15th, 1965. Ford offers factory-installed 8-track players in its Mustang, Thunderbird, and Lincoln models. This marks the first time 8-track players are widely available, so you can only get these tapes in auto parts stores or Ford dealers. The players have the tendency to chew up tapes, leading to 8-track roadkills as drivers would throw the tangled tapes out their windows. 1998, Marilyn Manson releases their third album, Mechanical Animals. Target, Walmart, and other retailers refuse to stock it because of the cover, which depicts the group's frontman in a naked female form. 1982, at the Los Angeles Forum, Queen played their last American concert with Freddie Mercury, who 9 years later passed away. Michael Jackson joins the band backstage before the show. On Queen's other tours with Mercury, they always skipped the United States after that. So I don't know if it was something Michael said when he was backstage. He didn't want to come back. I don't know. 1945, Lee Dorman, a bass guitarist for Iron Butterfly, is born in St. Louis, Missouri. September 16th, 2006, 65-year-old Bob Dylan becomes the oldest person to top Billboard's albums charts at #1 with his album Modern Times. And birthdays on that day, 1963, Richard Marx has a birthday. I was kind of a big closet Richard Marx fan in the 80s there. 1950, country singer David Bellamy of the Bellamy Brothers was born in Darbin, Florida. 1925, bluesman B.B. King is born, Riley B. King in Mississippi. September 17th, 1982, Pink Floyd's double album The Wall makes its big screen and feature-length musical debut. 1967, appearing on the Ed Sullivan Show, the Doors are asked to change their line, Girl, You Couldn't Get Much Higher, and their hit Light My Fire, with Girl, We Can't Get Much Better. Lead singer Jim Morrison agreed to this, then sings the offended line anyway, arguing the host and earning a lifetime ban from the show. Now, I know on that show the Stones had to change the lyrics of the song also, and they did it reluctantly. Mick did it. But that was that beginning of the whole controversial lyrics, can't show Elvis shaking his hips on TV sort of thing. And now you watch the 6 o'clock news, and what do you see? 1967, Keith Moon of The Who rigs his bass drum to explode at the end of My Generation during the group's appearance on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. But he didn't realize the stage crew had already set up the charge. The resulting explosion cut Moon's leg, singes Pete Townshend's hair, and startles fellow guests Betty Davis and Mickey Rooney. Ah, yes, TV back in the 60s. 1991. Instead of releasing their double album, which they decided would be too expensive for fans, Guns N' Roses issued both Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 as separate albums the same day. Birthdays on that day, 1970, Vin Rock of Naughty by Nature is born. Vincent Brown in East Orange, New Jersey. And 1923, musician Hank Williams was born. Hareen King Williams in Mount Olive, Butler County, Alabama. September 18th, 1983. Kiss make their first public appearance without their trademark makeup. They show up on MTV to promote their album and single, Lick It Up. I know on the video part of this later, we're going to have a copy of that in there. And we'll plug that in. You have that ready now, Dan, or you're going to play it at the end?
Well, I've got it right here. I hoping the fans, the listeners can see this. It's very
there we
interesting.
go. Let's play that.
It goes 7 minutes long, but what it does is, what's that?
Can you add any volume on it?
Oh yeah, here we go.
Paul looks like a mugshot.
Yeah. No, I can't grab the audio on it yet because my microphone.
Yeah, if you look it up on YouTube and watch it, JJ Jackson of MTV has the whole interview right there with him. Vinnie Vincent was new to the band from the album before. Eric Carr had been with them for a couple albums before that. But Paul and Gene have always been there.
That's a 7 minutes in length. The Kiss Unmasking that took place in 1983. We'll leave the link on our on the podcast.
All right, beautiful. 1978. Kiss also released their solo albums. Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley, and Peter Criss all hit stores on the same day. Also in 1978, WKRP in Cincinnati, a TV series based on a radio station which switches formats, easy listening to rock, makes its debut on CBS. It lasts 4 seasons, enjoying support from real radio station professionals because they found a lot of similarity between the characters and the people they worked with. You don't see a lot of reruns of this show. They tried to do a reboot a while ago, and it was terrible. The reason you don't see a lot of reboots of this show is because all the artists whose songs were played want royalties because it wasn't in contracts back then. So if you were to rerun this show, you have to pay all these singers royalties all the time. There's no way of getting around that, so they just haven't redone the show, which is really sad. That's that. Birthdays on this day. 1967, Ricky Bell, one of Dan's favorite bands, Belle Biv DeVoe, was born in the Rockford neighborhood in Boston, Massachusetts.
I thought it was the Buccaneers running back.
Oh, no, the other Ricky Bell. Belle Biv DeVoe. Did you and your brothers always play Belle Biv DeVoe? You all thought you were all members of Belle Biv DeVoe and sang, or no? I don't see you and your brothers doing that.
No.
You should do that for Halloween. You guys can go as Belle Biv DeVoe.
Yes.
Although I don't see them being redheaded like the three of you, but that's a different story. 1940, singer-actor Frankie Avalon is born in Francis Thomas Avalon in Philadelphia. September 19th, 1987. The Grateful Dead hit number 10 on the Hot 100 in the U.S. with Touch of Grey, their only hit song for that band. And again, MTV's got to get a lot of credit for that because of the video airplay. I thought it was a decent song, but 87, that were number 10 hit for them. Kind of like Clapton when getting one number 1. Lots of things you learn here on this show, folks.
Very informative.
Yes, 1985. And again, this is another one you got to look this up on YouTube. 1985. Frank Zappa, John Denver, and Dee Snider of Twisted Sister testified to state hearings where the PMRC, the Parents Music Resource Center, argued the rating system for music. Musicians explained that this is censorship, but the PMRC wins a victory, and warning labels are ordered on albums that contain explicit lyrics. If you could see Dee Snider's interview beforehand, what he did. Dee Snider's a very intelligent man. He's not just some long hair singer. So when he walked into that meeting with his cut-off jean jacket and pulled paper out of his back pocket folded up, he said that was all planned. He knew exactly what he was doing. He says, I'm going to go in there with a big rock and roll part. If you look back at the PMRC stuff, the names that were on that panel, unfortunately, there's still people in Senate today. But it was funny to watch. Frank Zappa, John Denver, and Dee Snider. I would never picture those three in the same room in my life. And then here they are defending rock and roll. So it was pretty cool. Birthdays for this day, 1958. Lita Ford was born in London, actually. Lita Ford of the Runaways and of a great solo career. Still a great performer. She still looks good today. 1943, Cass Elliot, Mama Cass, the Mamas and Papas, was born in Baltimore, Maryland. 1940, blue-eyed soul singer Bill Medley of the Righteous Brothers was born in L.A. And in 1920, 1969, the cartoon group The Archies claimed the top spot in America was Sugar Sugar, which spent 4 weeks at number 1.
Oh, interesting.
2004, Billy Joel gets his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And birthdays, 1968, Ben Shepherd, bass player for Soundgarden, was born Hunter Benedict Shepherd in Japan. But he was raised in Washington, so he could be a Washington boy. And 1967, identical twins Matthew and Gunnar Nelson, parents Ricky Nelson and Christine Harmon, were born in California. Matthew Gunnar had a decent little cup of coffee as major recording artists. Now they go around kind of being a Ricky Nelson tribute band, doing the old man's music. So very talented guys, just they didn't have the fans for it. And in 1966, one of my many, you all know Jack Blades of Night Ranger. I have a man crush on him. I also have a man crush on Nuno Betancourt of Extreme. It's his birthday. 1966. Born in Portugal, but he was raised in Hudson, Massachusetts. Nuno Betancourt was Extreme. He's now Generation X. Extreme does a lot of stuff in Japan now. That's where they've kind of went to after Gary left, went to Van Halen for a couple albums, came back. But Nuno birthday 1966, and that is what I got for music stuff today, sir. What do you have for your album of the week? Which beforehand, we did put a question up on our Facebook page and Instagram for suggestions. And I think Dan reached into that suggestion pile for one.
Yes, and we'll get to that here right after this break, and we'll be back for the album review of the week. All right, we're back. Album of the week this week. For episode 40, we got a special, a listener recommended special album of the week this week. Michael Jackson Thriller. Michael Jackson Thriller. Now, this is interesting. Thriller is a sixth studio album by American singer Michael Jackson, released on November 30th, 1982 by Epic Records. Reunited with Off the Wall producer Quincy Jones, Jackson was inspired to create an album where every song was a killer, with the ongoing backlash against disco. Jackson moved in a new musical direction, incorporating pop, post-disco, rock, and funk. Thriller foreshadows the contradictory themes of Jackson's personal life as he began using a motive of paranoia and darker themes. The album features a single guest appearance with Paul McCartney becoming the first artist to be featured on Jackson's album. Recording took place between April 1982 and November 1982 at Westlake Recording Studios in Los Angeles, with a production budget of $750,000. So let me bring this up here. I've got a little album cover here.
There it is.
Michael Jackson Thriller. Thriller became Jackson's first #1 album on the Billboard Top LPs and Top Tapes chart, where it spent a record 37 weeks at #1. So imagine this, Andy. We got 37 weeks at #1, and from this went from February 26th of '83 to April 14th of '84. Album was released in 1982, so it spends 37 weeks at #1. Now, the Thriller music video. Remember, this is a 14-minute music video on MTV. Became the best. The Thriller music video was premiered to great anticipation in December of 1983. Now, you probably remember that very well. It's in our time frame, our genre, our lifetime. Me as a rock guy, heavy metal guy, hard rock enthusiast, I remember watching that video whenever it appeared on video type of shows and Friday night videos and things like that when it came on. This was unreal. And so I became a fan of this album myself. So that MTV was really huge. It started playing regularly on MTV, which also increased the sales of this album. With 32 million copies sold worldwide by the end of 1983. Now, for the music fans out there, 1 million records in the U.S. is considered platinum. That's a very achievable goal, and many of the albums we review on this show are 2 to 3 times platinum, sometimes 4 or 5 times platinum. This sold 32 million in 1 year worldwide. Thriller became the best-selling album of all time by 1983. It was the best-selling album worldwide of 1983, and it was also the first album to become the best-selling in the United States for 2 years. Best-selling in 1983 and best-selling in 1984, back-to-back years. And so this album was unreal. The other reason, Andy, that this album went so high up on the chart was the number of releases, number of singles released. 7 singles off a single album. Usually you see your staple here, 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 singles release, sometimes even 4 on a good album, but this had 7. They started off in October of 1982 with The Girl Is Mine. Then, January of 83, they released Billie Jean. February of 1983, the month later, Beat It is released, which includes a guitar solo by Eddie Van Halen. The 4th release was May, Wanna Be Startin' Something. Human Nature was released 2 months later in July, just in time for the July 4th holiday, the song Human Nature. Then we don't get anything till September 19th. On this day in 1983, they released PYT, Pretty Young Thing. And then finally, the last single, in fact, the most popular song with the music video was Thriller, wasn't released, that song, on November 2nd of 1983. So this album, Andy, it went all across the board with the music and the type and the style of music. Thriller, the album, explores genres including pop, post-disco, rock, and funk. And it was very well done. Every single song here is good. Now the cover, you can see, listeners can see the cover of the album here. The cover of Thriller features Jackson in a white suit that belonged to photographer Dick Zimmerman. The gatefold sleeve reveals a tiger cub at Jackson's leg, which, according to Zimmerman, Jackson kept away from his face, fearing he would be scratched. Another picture from the shoot with Jackson embracing the cub was used for the 2001 special edition of Thriller. Music videos, like I said, the Thriller, when that was released, that's a 14-minute music video with Vincent Price doing the narration. And they had a lot of external folks come in to do songs or record sections of the music for this album. A lot of guests. Epic Records also reflected on the importance of this album. More than just an album, Thriller has remained a global, cultural, multimedia phenomenon for both the 20th and 21st centuries, smashing the musical barriers and changing the frontiers of pop forever. The music on Thriller is so dynamic and singular that it defied any definition of rock, pop, or soul that had gone before. Very broad, the album, very broad. And of course, 2001, they did a reissue as an expanded set. People can get a hold of that. Here's the track listing on Thriller. Song number 1, Wanna Be Startin' Something. Song 2, Baby Be Mine. Song 3, The Girl Is Mine. This is the song with Paul McCartney on solos as well, on vocal. Song 4, Thriller. Song 5, Beat It. Song 6, Billie Jean. Song 7, Human Nature. Song 8, PYT, Pretty Young Thing. Song 9, The Lady in My Life. Total running track, 42 minutes, 19 seconds. Now, on track 8, Pretty Young Thing, not sure if folks realize this, Background
That's
vocals.
actually my favorite song on the album.
It is.
That's my
Background
favorite song on the album.
vocals by Janet Jackson and LaToya Jackson on that song. Song track number 8. They're on background vocals. And I'm not even sure. Janet was just up and coming at the time. Were they both relatively unknown?
At the time, yes.
Okay.
I think Janet was just getting over the whole being on Good Times thing and starting her own career.
And Eddie Van Halen, of course, does the guitar solo on Beat It. But this really crossed over this album with music, post-disco, funk, and rock were all included in this album. Anything in particular that jumps out at you, Andy?
I just, like I said, PYT was my favorite song on the album. I remember that one that was to me, because it was different. You know, that whole song, if you listen to it, was just different. And the album, it covered so many different things. You didn't have to change radio stations. You could set a whole album and kind of cover your entire music spectrum. Little disco, little rock, little pop. It was all in that one album. Me, I'm the type of guy, I flip station. First comes on, I flip to a different station. I don't care if I listen to the same music all the time. That album did that for me. It was all different formats in one album.
And the last item to note here, because this album sold so much around the world, and even when that Thriller video came out, it was running twice an hour to meet the demand on MTV. Thriller video was running twice per hour.
And it's a 15-minute video, so that's 30 minutes of your 1 hour right there was that song.
And then after Jackson's death in June of 2009, Thriller actually set additional records. It sold more than 100,000 copies. Just in the week after this. And that's considered gold status right there. This was after the man dies, placing at number 2 on the top pop catalog albums chart. So this is one of the most listened to albums and songs in music history. But thank you you still do, and thanks once again. We're looking for recommendations on the show and suggestions for album reviews. So for episode 40 here on Sports and Songs, we're doing Michael Jackson, Thriller.
Yeah, we've had a few more suggestions come up, so you might see those in the future. But yeah, don't be afraid to drop other albums down there. Try to stick to the rock genre, but this was a little outside our realm, but still we liked it. So keep giving them in. We're not afraid to broaden our horizons, if you will. But yeah, that was on there. The other thing I got to mention is some concerts. On local radio station here, a lot of bands are doing virtual online concerts now. They're not free, folks. You got to pay for them. You have to sign up for it. So if you're into that, check out locally here. I know 93X has some on their website. Whatever brand of music you listen to, I'm sure their formats and their websites have options for that too. Little clubs here like Medina and stuff are starting to get back up. Like we've said before, the bars are starting to have little bands come in now. So support your local musicians. Please go out and see them.
All right, that's all I've got.
All right. That's all I got. You'll see, not on the video part, but those listening on Anchor at the very end of this, after this, you're going to hear my special interview with Jason Inc. There's some big news coming from AEW lately. A little extra wrestling part after the album part here. You'll hear at the very end. So sorry you got to listen to the whole episode to catch that. I'm not hurt if you've already seen the video and you want to get to the audio and skip through to the end. Fine. We're going to put it at the end after this part.
Awesome. Thanks and have a good week.